What if I told you that Naira Marley was once a gangster, involved in killing, stabbing, and breaking the laws?
When I was growing up, it was just gang, it was just stabbings, killings. No one cares about nothing, just trying to break the law.
Not just a gangster, but the one who got arrested 124 times.
We was the most violent people, on road. I won't even lie.
Yes, Naira Marley created the biggest movement in Nigeria, a rash, mannerless movement called the Malian, with the slogan, "No Manners." But wait a minute, do you know No Manners was actually the name of a court in Peckham, South London? In this documentary, I'm going to be unveiling the darkest secrets of Naira Marley, how he rose from Queen City, London, a place filled with crime, to becoming a global superstar, and how his name ended up in the mud for being called a murderer. Brace yourself. To understand the story of Naira Marley, let's go back to the very beginning. He was born as Sis Addition of Fashola in 1991 in Lagos, Nigeria. He didn't grow up with luxury. He didn't grow up with fame. He grew up in the loud, busy streets of Lagos, where every child had to fight for survival. Lagos was tough. The dreams were expensive, but little Aziz had something different. He had the charisma, he had the stubbornness, and he had a spirit that refused to be silenced. At the age of 11, everything changed when his family moved him out of Lagos to a place that would shape his destiny forever. And that place is Peckham, South London. Peckham was no paradise. Yes, it was a city with opportunities, but it was also a jungle, a place known for crime, gangs, and immigrant struggles. Let's assume Lagos taught Aziz how to hustle. Peckham taught him how to fight. In school, he wasn't a genius, but he was sharp. At Peckham Academy, he passed with distinction. Later, he studied business law at Crossway College. On paper, this looked like a boy destined for a corporate job, but outside the classroom, a different education was happening. On the streets of Peckham, Aziz was learning music. Not just music, he was also learning the codes of the streets. He was learning how to survive in a country that didn't care whether an African boy like him succeeded or failed. In 2014, reports surfaced that Naira Marley was allegedly declared wanted by Lewisham police in London, accused of robbery and sexual assault on a night bus. But that is not all. Naira Marley himself once allegedly claimed that he had been arrested 124 times in the UK. Yes, 124 times. Now think about that. Even if half of it was true, it tells you the kind of life he was living. In and out of police cell, always in trouble, always walking in the line between survival and destruction. This was the reality of Peckham life, and that was the soil that grew the artist that would later be known as Naira Marley, who made music his greatest escape. Around that time, the UK grime scene was exploding. Grime is a style of music that started in East London in the early 2000s. It's a raw, fast-paced genre that mixes elements of UK garage, drum and bass, dancehall and hip-hop. Artists like Willie, Skepta, Dizzy Rascal were the stars of that time. They were the street kings who carried raw energy into their music, and Naira Marley fell in love with it. He started as a rapper which began freestyling with his friend. Then later, he began recording officially. In 2014, he dropped his first EP titled God of Dance. If you listen to that EP, you will never imagine that Naira Marley would later sing with Yoruba and raw street slang. But then, the EP didn't make him a superstar, but it gave him a taste of what was possible. Following up, he released Marijuana with My Strings, a cheeky mix of rap, street life, and weed references.
Please let me marijuana. Cannabis in the wasteland.
It was raw, it was unpolished, but it was authentic. But here is the thing, London was oversaturated with too many artists, too much competition, and no matter how hard he tried to push, the spotlight wasn't coming his way. So he made a decision that would change his life forever. He was doing everything possible to get recognition, but it wasn't coming as fast as he expected. To Naira Marley, if London wouldn't give him the space he needed, He was determined to relocate to a country that we embracing. So he started looking back home, back to Nigeria, back to the place where Afrobeat was rising and the world was already paying attention to it. He rebranded himself and called himself Naira Marley after his idol Bob Marley. Bob Marley represented rebellion. Bob Marley represented freedom, and Naira Marley wanted the same thing. As at that time, Wizkid was already selling out arenas, Davido was topping charts, and Burna Boy was carving his lane. And Naira Marley thought to himself, if they can do it, why can't I? So, he switched the gears by creating sound that blended his two words. He began to blend Afrobeat with his London rhyme. He added Yoruba to his flows. It started sounding like the streets of Lagos even while he was staying in London. It was a gamble, but soon the gamble would pay off. In 2017, everything changed when he released a song titled It's a Go.
Oh, this is a go. Malosun, this is a go.
That song was so powerful that Olamide and Likes jumped on it, and later, even superstars like Simi, Fast, Slinkers joined in the remix. Suddenly, Naira Marley was no longer a boy hustling in Peckham. He was now a star in Nigeria. At first, It's a Go was just a street anthem, but then, coincidentally, Nigeria was heading to the World Cup, and suddenly It's a Go became the unofficial national song. Everywhere you turn, people were chanting it. Football viewing centers, clubs, parties, schools. That single track turned Naira Marley into a star, and finally, he broke through. Now, here is the thing. Naira Marley was not like Wizkid. He wasn't like Davido. He wasn't even like Burna Boy. While others polished their image, Naira Marley embraced chaos. He called his fans Malians. He told them to live free, live wild, and break the rules. It was an identity, and the street loved it. And before you know it, even sane people started loving it. But the same identity that made him famous was the same identity that would bring him scandals, because very soon, Naira Marley was about to cross the line no Nigerian artist had ever dared to cross. And when he did, his life would never remain the same. In 2019, he dropped a track titled Am I a Yahoo Boy with Zlatan.
Am I a Yahoo boy? Me hotmail,
Now, let's be clear. In Nigeria, Yahoo Yahoo is not just about fraud. It's a full-blown epidemic. Young boys chasing quick money and lavish lifestyle funded by stolen credit cards were everywhere, and the government declared war against it. And there comes Naira Marley, an artist who had just blown up, and instead of avoiding the topic, he embraced it. Not only embracing it, but he made the whole song out of it. But the song was creative, the beat was catchy, and the slang was sharp, and the streets loved it. But not everyone was happy about it. Some people called him a bad influence. They said he was promoting fraud. They said he was corrupting the youth.
I do not like anything about Naira Marley. Naira Marley is not a role model.
And before Naira Marley could even enjoy the buzz of his new single, the government came knocking. On the 10th of May 2019, which was also his birthday, the EFCC arrested him and charged him on 11 counts of internet fraud, credit card scams, and alleged conspiracy to obtain money by false pretense. The news was everywhere. Headlines, TV, radio, Twitter. In one single day, Naira Marley went from being a rising star to being branded as a criminal.
Naira Marley on Monday the 20th of May pled not guilty to an 11 counts charge bordering on cybercrime and credit card theft leveled against him.
But here is a shocking part. The arrest didn't kill his career. It's made him bigger. At a point, even pastors were talking about Naira Marley in their sermons.
Naira Marley, orí ẹ̀ mọ̀ pé ayé yóò lé, ayé yóò lé, ayé ló máa yé lé.
Good or bad publicity, everything was working in his favor. Because the same way Nigerians hate crime is the same way the streets also love rebellion. And Naira Marley suddenly became a symbol of resistance. To his fans, he wasn't a fraudster. He was a victim, a scapegoat, a hero who dared to speak the truth through his music. The one biggest problem with Nigerian youth is they idolize crime, fraud, and fake lifestyles. Naira Marley's song was a way to deny being involved in crime while still committing it. So the youth loved the song. The EFCC dragged him to court. They put him in handcuffs, but his fan base kept growing. That was when people started calling themselves Malians. They started a culture of freedom, no manners, no rules, no boundaries. The more the society criticized him, the more the Malians loved him. By the time Naira Marley was released on bail, he was no longer just an artist, he was a movement, but in a bad way. But here is the twist. The same movement, the same Malian identity will later become the reason for his greatest fall. Because when you make rebellion your brand, you can't stop the chaos that follows. And for Naira Marley, the chaos was only the beginning. When Naira Marley walked out of prison in 2019, most people expected him to lay low, to stay quiet, and to avoid trouble. But instead of silence, Naira Marley released a new song, and that song was Soapy. Now listen carefully. Soapy was not just music, it was provocation. The dance he introduced mimicked masturbation. He said it was inspired by what he saw in the prison, and the streets ran with it. Crowds were blasting it, kids were dancing to it, TikTok challenges everywhere. But the society went mad. They said it was corrupting children. They said it was glamorizing prison life. They said it was a danger to the society. But for Naira Marley, that was a plan. He wasn't just here to play safe. He wasn't here to impress pastors or politicians. He was here for the streets, and the street crowned him their president. By the end of 2019, he was selling out shows. Everywhere you turn, someone was shouting Malians. No belt, no rules, no manners. It was chaos, but it was powerful. But while he was enjoying all the money and all the fame, the EFCC case was still waiting for him. And before Nigeria realized, this was no longer just music. This was a cultural rebellion. But here is the thing about rebellion. It doesn't last forever. Because the same controversies that made Naira Marley popular were the same controversies that would later break him. And very soon, he was about to face new battles. Battles that would not just test his music, but his survivor. After the EFCC case and everything, Naira Marley decided to start his own record label, Malians Music. And for a while, it looked like a genius move. He had the streets, he had fame, and now he had his own army of young talent. He signed artists like Zinoliski, Mohbad, C-Black, Fabian Blue, Lighter, and many others. Together, they became the voice of the new generation. Everywhere you turn, Malian music was dominating the club, the radio, the parties. But behind the music, one of his artists would be the end of his career at the end of the entire record label, and that artist was Mohbad. This is what happened. On September 12, 2023, Mohbad died, and Naira Marley's name was dragged into the darkest scandal of his career. Naira Marley was accused of killing his own artist, and the whole country started blaming him for his death. Because before the death of Mohbad, he called Naira Marley out for threat to life and bullying.
Now they are trying to kill me. Everybody in the whole world, please help me if I die. Well, Naira Marley kill me.
And when the news broke out, radio stations started banning his songs. TV stations pulled out Malian music videos. Promoters cancelled the shows. And Malian brand became toxic overnight. By the end of 2023, the name Naira Marley no longer carried the same power it once did. The Malian Empire, the street anthem, the wild movement, all of it collapsed under the weight of that scandal. Click here right now to watch the story behind the death of Mohbad and how Naira Marley was accused, or click the link in the description if you love more stories like this. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe, follow the bell button so you don't miss other amazing stories like this one.